being a roommate sucks. Let's just call it what it is. When the woman you said I do to becomes your roommate, everything's harder. Business is harder, right? All things are really rough. And I can speak from experience. I had 3 companies when my wife and I were going through our roughest patch. And that's all I could think about was how much things sucked. And I thought about leaving. I thought of planning. All those, it just sucked my energy away to doing so. Fast forward to today, we're scaling. We're scaling at a 10x multiple right now. That's because partially I know home base is secure. I don't have a roommate. I have a soulmate. Hey guys, welcome back to the TPM show. Hey, look, are you living together with your partner but just feeling apart? Well, today we're going to learn how to transform your cohabiting routine into a deep, soulful connection that resonates or reignites your love story. So, gentlemen, today I am joined by the co-host with the most, Mr. Tim Matthews. Tim, thanks for being here, brother.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. 800th episode.
Number 800, buddy.
Remember when we started the show years ago? Yeah. Wow.
Yep, quite a few revisits in there, and
need to do a celebration for the 1,000.
Yep, you've done a great job, buddy. You've done a great job. 1,000. What should we do?
Yeah, it's a good question.
Let's throw it to the listeners.
Maybe the listeners can give us some ideas.
Yeah, guys, we'd love to hear you guys in the private community for that are in the movement. What should we do for the 1,000th episode? I can't say that one all of a sudden. Too much coffee here. What do you guys think we should do? I know we're going to get a lot of interesting comments from the men. For the rest of you guys, we have a private Facebook community that is open to all men or our listeners. You can go over there and give us some suggestions. But yeah, 800 is quite a milestone, buddy.
It is. And how many downloads? I think last week was it 40,000-ish?
We're close to 1 million.
Oh, in total. Wow.
Yep. Well, and that's not counting the other ways that we get this podcast out to people. This just counts the normal podcast route, if you will, which is pretty interesting. But Tim, we're not here to talk about 800. We're here to help the guys that feel like they got roommates, right? Not a wife, not a soulmate, but a roommate. Mm-hmm. And as I always used to say, it's not the cool roommate that you had in college that you could be watching Sports Center, they get up and they throw you a beer. It's the roommate that if you're watching Sports Center, they're probably giving you a hard time. It's a roommate that if you're sitting on the couch, they're wondering why you're being lazy. That you're being critical to each other from time to time. So I really want to get through there and give these guys some strategies for breaking out of that roommate routine, helping them foster a culture of appreciation and gratitude. And then really a way for them to create some rituals that will strengthen the bond in their marriage. You up for that?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Let's do it. So one of the things I think is important, Tim, is to talk about how we get here first. And, people have heard me talk about this before, but I think it's important to revisit because if you don't know how you got here, the chances of repeating the pattern of getting back here are very high. So what I want you guys to do is imagine 2 scales, right? The scales of justice, right? Where you have one scale on the left, one scale on the right balanced. Now, when you first start dating, the scale with good feelings and habits is overwhelmingly, weighted, right? And the bad one is not, because you don't know any bad things about each other. And I used to joke all the time, Tim, that you could fart, pass gas, and you guys would chuckle and laugh. It was cute. Whereas once you get married and you add some kids in the mix, work stress as you're trying to get the house and all the things that go with being a married couple, these bad feelings start to add up over time. Sleepless nights with the kids, little arguments here. And then all of a sudden you realize that these bad feelings and experiences far outweigh the good ones, to the point where taking out the trash becomes an argument that can last for weeks. And it's never about the trash, but that's what it seems like to be. And even when you try to go on vacation, the vacations end up being arguments rather than fun, things to do. You even stop looking forward to doing things together because your roommate is no longer your soulmate. Your roommate is this person that's living in your house that's not even friendly to you. They're cold and they reject you. So one of the things we can do here is really flip the script, right? Because where there's any resentment, there's going to be conflict. And so we need to get rid of that resentment first and foremost. Now at TPM, we use something called the Triad of Connection, We don't have the availability to go over the whole Triad of Connection with you guys on this podcast, but it's really 3 points here, right, Tim? There's a clean slate method, which allows you to wipe the slate clean. So you can start from scratch, right? You're not going back and looking at those past actions, those past complaints that your wife brings up time and time again that seem to come out of nowhere. We wipe those clean. Then we apply what's called the hidden motives technique. That's the second part of the triad. Hidden motives technique allows you to rebuild those good feelings and habits so you can tip the scale in your favor. Now, tipping the scale in your favor is going to feel amazing and everything, but we don't want to stop there. So we throw in the third component, which is the live like a king system, and that allows you to keep it there permanently. So you're not going back through the old patterns that got you in trouble in the first place. So oftentimes people will say, hey, my marriage is better than it's ever been, better than the honeymoon period. That's because you guys know more about each other. You're back to like a honeymoon type feeling, but you have more wisdom. You have more strength in your bonds. And so the sex is better and everything's better when you can get that into place. So Tim, let's talk about some of the things they can do to help strategies, help them break out of this roommate routine.
Get a morning routine. Obviously, we give the men the Alpha, Rise, and Shine that contains very specific pieces. Alpha is an acronym for attune, learn, plan, honor, and accelerate. But whatever it is for you, just do something to carve out the first chunk of the day, however long that may be, to put yourself in a optimal state, ideally, but if not, just a better state, so that you can start the day on the best foot and put your best foot forwards. And I mean, something that goes hand in hand with this, that the guys struggle with a little bit in the beginning of the activation method, but they really get the hang of it towards the end of it and going into the brotherhood or the inner circle or whatever program they continue with us on, is doing something for themselves. In the beginning, the Alpha, Rise, and Shine tends to be the thing they do for themselves. Or they just create that space in the day where they've got some time and space for them. And the idea of this is that it's difficult to pour from a cup that's always being emptied. It's kind of like the analogy of the plane going down, put your oxygen mask on first. If you're constantly giving and you don't give anything to yourself, then it's far easier to be reactive in that space. And it's far easier to resent in that space as well. I was actually speaking to an amazing man today. And I said, hey, do you realize how often you complain about your work? Like, Doug's smiling. I think you know who it is. Amazing man. And complains about his work a lot. I said, yeah, I really do that a lot, don't I? I'm like, yeah. I said, do you know what? I think it's probably because I'm not doing anything for myself lately. Now, whether that was right or wrong, or the insight was brilliant. I'm like, let's go down that train of thought, right? Because he recognizes when he's not doing something for himself and he's doing everything for other people, he then begins to resent most things, not just work, but most things, because he doesn't have anything left to give himself. So the same is true here, Alpha, Rise, and Shine, or doing something for yourself. Start to do that because it's going to put you in a much better space, because in doing so, you then feel better and your perspective shifts not only on yourself, but also things around you as well. And that can be one of the ways that you can lower the resentment. The other thing that I'll share as well, something we get the men in the inner circle to do every day, and that's, for those that don't know, it's one of our higher end masterminds, is just writing down 5 wins a day. I've actually started sending myself a little Voxer Doug every day, just my 5 wins from the previous day, because I love seeing their wins come in. I've had a habit in the past of doing it in journaling and then stopping and such. But point being is when you train your perspective to look for the things that are right and live in the gain, again, that can really help to lower the resentment and put you in a much better space to be able to then go and handle things with your wife. And also, she picks up on your energy as well. When your energy shifts and you just feel better and you're lighter and you're less stressed and you're more playful and you're happier and you're more positive, that begins to be palpable by the people closest to you.
100%, man. It really is. I love the idea of the 5 wins. This is the first thing I do when I get a new coaching client, is I have them do their 5 wins. And I know we spilled that over to the inner circle. It just works so well because it's so easy to focus on the negative.
Mm-hmm.
especially when things are wrong. And this is why I also recommend, if guys are in this situation, they start a gratitude practice. And the
Mm.
gratitude practice should be a gratitude practice on your wife. And what I mean by that is every day, at least 3 times, catch your wife in the act of doing something right. Not wrong, just doing something right. Could be as simple as taking your kids to school. Could be as simple as, putting our toothbrush away. Whatever it is, make it easy. But every day, find 3 things that your wife is doing right. Catch her in the act of doing it right. Now, what I want you to do is write these things down. 3 is the minimum. 3 is basic. If you want to play basic, which is a C in school, right? You're 70% or better, do 3. If you want a B, do 5, right? Every day. If you want an A, you're now going to share these every night with your wife. Hey, it's called the gratitude night. You know what I really appreciate about you is A. You know what I really appreciate about you also is B. And start sharing these. Now, you don't have to share all 5, but every night share at least 1 thing, if not 2, that you appreciate about your wife. Now, if you're an A+ student, you're an honor student here, right? You're a game player. You want it all. You're like, Doug, I didn't come here for, average. I came here for greatness. I love you, first of all. We want you in our tribe. You're our people. Now, you're going to do the 5 gratefuls about your wife every single day, and it's going to go like this. I love and appreciate my wife, your wife's name, because, and you're going to list out it is, because she takes care of the children, so therefore I can focus on my passion, which is my work, and that gives me more bandwidth to do what I love, right? The more detailed, the better. Then you're going to sit down with your wife at dinner and say, hey, babe, let's do a gratitude sharing. Here's one thing I really appreciate about you. Is there something you appreciate about me? And give her the opportunity of sharing as well. Now, she may not have as many. She didn't listen to this podcast probably. She may not be on the same page as you right now. She may not be on the same development journey that you're on. So, don't slight her for it. If she does it once, that's something you can be grateful for. But either way, you're going to share. You're going to share something you are grateful for her. And don't make it robotic. Make it fun. Make it light. And it can even be something like when you walk in the kitchen and just touch her and say, you know what, I really want to thank you for what you did for my birthday last year, or whatever it is. If you can't come up with something that day, go back through your history. Go back to your wedding. Go back to dates. If you have children, hey, you know what? I just want to thank you for giving birth to Bodie and Aspen, right? Those are my 2 kids' names. Whatever it may be for you, find that gratitude and make it easier for yourself. And remember, life's too short for average, guys. This is time to play big. So get that gratitude practice in right away.
I love that point. Validation as well, learning to validate. I know we dive deeper within this in the hidden motives technique, but the powerful impact of just seeing somebody, right? In a real short summary, 2 things you could do within this. All the guys in the beginning said they have a hard time getting the wife to open up to them at the end of the day. Hey, how was your day? Fine. They don't really know where to go from there, right? So just sticking with it. Okay, what was fine about it? Obviously, remember that 80% of communication is nonverbal. So your body language, tonality, facial expressions, all those things are really important here to create an environment of safety for her. So she wants to open up and feels good opening up. And the more you stick with it, you'll probably find within 5 minutes or so, maybe less, that she'll begin to open up. And the more that you then make that an enjoyable experience by asking genuinely curious questions about how those experiences must have been, and you begin to play in her world. A metaphor that I really like that describes the difference between empathy and validation. Imagine you're walking along and you see that somebody's falling into a hole. Empathy would be you looking down in the hole and saying, oh, you okay? It looks dark down there. How did you get down there? Validation would be you climbing in the hole with them and going, oh, wow, it's dark in here, isn't it? Oh, it's cold, it's scary. You're sharing in the experience with them. So figure out how you can do that with your wife as she's sharing with you about her day. And that can go a long way in having her feel seen and heard by you. And you begin to stack these positive experiences like Doug was saying before.
Yeah. And also, one thing that really helps couples, Tim, is planning like regular no screen times.
Mm.
like no screen evenings. So it could be a certain
I
time.
like that.
Dinner's is a no brainer, right? You should have no screens at your dinner table, in my opinion. Not that I'm telling everybody what to do, but it's a good, easy one to do. But have a certain time when you just like, hey, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. I'm going to put my phone away. I'm going to put it in a drawer. I'm going to put it someplace that's not accessible or easily accessible. Put it in your bathroom drawer so you can sneak in the bathroom if you need to, guys, and check what you need to check. I get it, but just don't have it in front of your partner. Don't have your phone out at all, right? So no screen times, and ask her to join you in that. Say, hey, look, we're not as connected as we used to be. I don't know about you, but I don't like that. Do you? And she's not going to like it, so she's going to say no. Hey, what do you think about doing a no screen time policy? So, and if it's hard, maybe it's one day a week. Maybe you start there, but maybe it's every weekday or just weekends. Figure out what it is that's best for you and your family and go from there. But have a no screen time policy that you can really, really affect and move forward.
Yeah, I love that. It's a big game changer, especially if, as the guy, if he chooses to make sure his phone is on do not disturb or whatever it may be from 8 p.m. or whatever time it may be in the evening. So, and she recognizes that and the phone is away in a drawer, subconsciously the story that, what that basically says about her is that she matters to him, and she matters to him more than his phone and the technology and whatever's going on there. She's more interesting, she's more desirable, and that can go a hell of a long way.
It can. And the last one I'm going to leave you guys with today is really simple, right? And it's simple yet complex. And what I mean by that is it's simple in concept. Some guys are gonna find it hard, but start something new together, right? Start a new project, start a new class, a new tradition in your home that excites you, that excites both of you. Start something. Dance classes, cooking classes. I'm going to start doing cooking with Chef Gregory, who's a man that's within the movement. Great guy who's spent a lot of time with him in Argentina. Shout out to him. He's got a cooking class. You can do it online all over the world. You can look up Chef Gregory and you'll find him. Do a cooking class with him. And that's a great way of doing it. Another thing you can do is maybe play a sport or activity together. Maybe it's going to the gym and exercising. What I find for most couples is if they move their body, that actually really helps them, right? They're kinetic. They can do that. But maybe it's a new tradition. Every Thursday, it's date night, right? If you're not doing date night, you're missing some of the basics, right? Again, we talk about grades. That's a C level. Missing date night is a D, right? D is not for diploma here. Like, this is not the way to do it. You have to have a regular date night. Yes, you have to schedule it. Guess what? Some of you guys are going to have to schedule sex too. It's just the way it is when things get busy. But having scheduled sex is better than no sex, guys. And then also what you want to do when you look at these projects is what's going to excite your wife. If you go back to the Love Languages podcast that Tim and I did previously, what is your wife's love language? If it's, words of affirmation, is there something or project you can do around that? If it's acts of service, maybe it's taking a welding class together. Maybe it's taking a pottery or a woodworking class. I don't know what it is for you, but you get to figure that out and take the lead and be decisive. Come up with some options. Don't just say, hey, we're doing this, but say, hey, babe, I'd love to do something with you. What do you think about taking a woodworking class? No? Okay. Well, also there's this guy, Chef Gregory, that does a cooking class. Would you be interested in joining that? Whatever it is for you, have a couple options for her so she knows that you're taking the lead and you've done your due diligence. Just like you would in business, lead.
Yeah, so true. And I love that point about the options as well. So many guys get so tired of rejection, I think. They stop trying, whether it's initiating sex, initiating date night. I think a lot of guys don't realize shit tests, fitness tests, safety tests, whatever you want to call them, right? Again, I was speaking to Tsunami this morning, and he just shared I went on an incredible date with his wife over the weekend. Guess what? She didn't want to go. She was tired. She wanted to get dressed up. All these things that can sometimes appear right before you go. And I asked him, well, how did you handle that? In essence, he was engaged but indifferent. His energy was great. He was very relaxed, and he just stayed true to what he wanted. First of all, he wanted to go to the restaurant, and also he wanted to experience it with his wife. So he was very detached. He had engaged indifference, but at the same time, very clear and decisive. And they had an amazing evening. And so much so, she's like, hey, when can we do this again? Because they both live very busy lifestyles. Point being is he could recognize ahead of time these tests that were coming up in the lead up to them going out. And I think a lot of guys don't realize it and unmistakably internalize it. And then they get tired of rejection, if you will, and stop trying. Even coming up with some options for date night, they just stop. So guys, I'd encourage you, if you resonate with that, to play with the idea that it might not have ever been about you, the no's you were getting in the past. And at the same time, what if you were to just take a little bit of a risk? Take a risk in getting it wrong. Take a risk in just putting out some crappy options. The key is to be decisive. The key is the energy around it and the energy you bring to it, like Doug was saying.
Yeah, it is. I mean, guys, being a roommate sucks. Let's just call it what it is. When the woman you said I do to becomes your roommate, everything's harder. Business is harder, right? All things are really rough. And I can speak from experience. I had 3 companies when my wife and I were going through our roughest patch. And that's all I could think about was how much things sucked. And I thought about leaving. I thought of planning, all those. It just sucked my energy away to doing so. Fast forward to today, we're scaling. We're scaling at a 10x multiple right now within TPM. And we'll talk about how to scale in future episodes. But that's because partially I know home base is secure. I don't have a roommate. I have a soulmate. And I want that for you guys too. So guys, go back, take a few of these things. First of all, actually, you know what? I'm going to take that back. I want you to decide what level you're going to play at. Honestly, be honest with yourself. You're driving a car, you're running. What level are you going to play at? You're going to be at the D level. D is for diploma. That means you need to schedule date nights. That's it. You're good. All right. If you're at the C level, add a few more things in there. B level, keep going. A plus. Now are you honors? Or are you going to be an honors player in this game we call life? If that's the case, I really encourage you, if you haven't been through the activation method, jump on in 2 feet first. You got to be a business owner or a C-suite executive. That's just who we serve right now, guys. Nothing against the rest of you. That's just what we do. Everybody else, we got these podcasts. We have a free Facebook group. But if you want to be at that A+ level in the honors class, playing with the big dogs, get into the activation method. My life won't change, guys, if you join the activation method, but your life certainly will. So I want to give you that opportunity to do so. Tim, always love having you back in the saddle, buddy. Always great to check in with you, catch up, and have you give insights to the men around the world. Gentlemen, as I always say, in the moment of insight, take massive action. We'll see you next time on the TPM show.